Imagine digging through your spare change, a simple 10-cent coin slipping through your fingers, and realizing it's worth more than a luxury car, more than a house deposit, even more than some people's life savings. These are not just coins. These are hidden treasures of Australian history, commanding tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Today we count down the top 10 most valuable Australian 10-cent coins and reveal how pocket change turned into treasure. Let's moving on. First up, 1966 Australian 10-cent coin. Imagine holding in your hand a small piece of Australian history, a simple silver-colored coin that at first glance might look like any other from your pocket change of the mid-1960s, but this one, the 1966 Australian 10-cent coin, is no ordinary relic. It is a numismatic treasure that has turned collectors' hearts upside down for decades, commanding a staggering market value of $125,000. This coin is more than currency. It is a story of transition, rarity, and a fascinating mistake that turned into a national marvel. The year 1966 marked a monumental turning point for Australia. It was the year the nation officially abandoned the old system of pounds, shillings and pence, stepping confidently into the modern world of decimal currency. February 14, 1966 was C-Day, the day when Australians emptied their wallets of old coins and embraced the new cents and dollars. Among the fresh decimal coins was the 10-cent piece, featuring Stuart Devlin's striking design of a graceful lyrebird on one side and Queen Elizabeth II on the obverse. For most Australians, it was just the beginning of a new monetary era. For collectors, however, it was also the birth of a legendary rarity. This particular coin owes its immense value to a minting anomaly. At the time, both Australia and its neighbour, New Zealand, were undergoing major coinage transitions. Somewhere in the Royal Mint's operations, an unexpected and highly unlikely mix-up occurred. A number of 1966 Australian 10-cent coins were struck not on the standard Australian blanks but on the thinner, smaller silver planchets intended for the New Zealand 10-cent piece. The result was a coin that looked right at first glance, but was lighter in weight and distinct upon closer inspection. For decades, these misstruck coins lay unnoticed in circulation, blending into the jingling pockets of everyday Australians. What makes this coin so remarkable today is not only its rarity, but its sheer survival. Many were spent, lost, or worn into oblivion, but a handful, just a whisper of the original minting, were preserved, tucked away by sharp-eyed individuals who sensed something special. Over time, collectors realized the true scarcity of these error strikes. Each one represents not just a monetary mistake, but a physical link to a transformative chapter in Australia's economic history. The $125,000 valuation is not pulled from thin air. It reflects the combination of scarcity, historical significance, and intense collector demand. For seasoned numismatists, the 1966 10-cent coin is the holy grail of decimal coinage, a coin that embodies both beauty and blunder. For older collectors, it resonates with memory, recalling the excitement, confusion, and national pride of C-Day. For investors, it stands as proof that value is not always about gold or silver content, but about the stories and eras that create scarcity. To hold one of these coins is to hold a time capsule of 1966, the optimism of a nation modernizing its currency, the artistry of Devlin's lyrebird, and the unpredictability of minting that gifted us this rare treasure. It is a coin that commands not only financial respect, but reverence as a piece of Australian cultural heritage. That is why today, collectors are willing to part with six figures, $125,000, for a single 10-cent coin that once could have bought nothing more than a stick of gum. Next up, 1968, Australian 10-cent coin. 2 years later, Australia's decimal currency was settling in comfortably. By 1968, the novelty of dollars and cents had become part of everyday life. The lyrebird adorned 10-cent coin was a familiar sight in change purses across the nation, a symbol of the new system that Australians had grown accustomed to. Yet amidst the millions of standard coins produced, a peculiar and extraordinary rarity emerged, the 1968 Australian 10-cent coin that would go on to achieve a market value of $120–250. The story of this coin is one of precision, perfection, and rarity. Unlike the chaotic minting errors of 1966, this treasure owes its value to an astonishingly small mintage and exceptional preservation. In 1968, as the Royal Australian Mint was adjusting production, schedules and experimenting with proof sets for collectors, only a very limited number of 10-cent coins were struck under unique conditions. Some were proofs, struck with special dies that gave them a mirror-like finish and razor-sharp detail. Others may have been test strikes, never intended for mass release, but accidentally escaping the confines of the mint. Whatever the exact origin, the result was the birth of one of Australia's most coveted numismatic rarities. For older collectors, the 1968 10-cent piece recalls a time of national stability and quiet pride. Australia was confidently operating under the decimal system, and coins minted during this period were a daily reminder of modernization. But for those with an eye for rarity, the 1968 stands apart, representing a coin that most Australians never even knew existed in such limited form. The $112.50 price tag is fueled by this aura of mystery and exclusivity. Owning one is akin to holding a secret chapter of Australia's monetary history. The value of the coin also comes from its condition. To fetch 6 figures, the 1968 10-cent must be in pristine proof-like quality, often graded at the very highest levels by professional numismatic bodies. Each gleaming surface reflects not only the craftsmanship of the mint but also the careful stewardship of collectors who preserved it across half a century. Unlike ordinary coins, these rare examples never clinked in cash registers or slipped into vending machines. They were kept as treasures, passed down through generations or exchanged in private collections. Until today, they represent the pinnacle of Australian coin collecting. For investors and historians alike, the 1968 10-cent coin embodies the intersection of art, rarity, and cultural value. Stuart Devlin's lyrebird designs still take center stage, reminding us of Australia's natural beauty and national identity. Queen Elizabeth II's youthful portrait on the obverse captures a moment in the monarchy that now feels distant, frozen in time, and the rarity of the coin elevates it beyond simple currency into the realm of national artifacts. At $112.50, the coin stands as a testament to how deeply people value history, precision, and scarcity. It is not the gold or silver content that matters here, but the story it tells, the rarity it represents, and the pride it evokes. For older Australians, it connects back to the days when the decimal system was still fresh, when pocket change carried stories of national transition. For collectors, it is a prize, an ultimate goal, a jewel among coins. And for those lucky enough to own one, it is proof that sometimes the smallest pieces of metal can carry the greatest weight of history and value. Next up, 1970, Australian 10-cent coin. The year 1970 was not just another year in Australia's decimal currency journey. It was a year of commemoration, celebration, and the unexpected creation of rarities that would capture the imagination of collectors for generations. By now, 4 years had passed since the country switched to dollars and cents. The 10-cent coin, adorned with Stuart Devlin's elegant lyrebird, had become a standard companion in every wallet and purse. But in 1970, a remarkable chapter unfolded, and among the regular issues emerged one of the most extraordinary and sought-after rarities of the era, the 1970 Australian 10-cent coin, today commanding an incredible $99,500 on the collector's market. The 1970s opened with a national celebration. It was the bicentenary of Captain James Cook's voyage along Australia's east coast, a milestone that inspired commemorative coins, medals and cultural events across the nation. The Royal Australian Mint was under pressure to produce not only circulating coins but also special issues to honor this moment in history. With heightened demand, experimental strikes, and unusual minting practices, mistakes and rare variations began to appear. One of those rare outcomes was the extraordinary 1970 10-cent coin. What makes this coin so valuable is not just its age, but its scarcity. Certain strikes from 1970 were either struck on incorrect blanks, misaligned, or produced in extremely low numbers compared to the massive circulation runs of standard 10-cent pieces. A handful may have even been tester strikes for proof sets or special presentations that never reached the public in intended form. Collectors discovered over time that only a minute population of these coins existed in uncirculated or near-perfect condition, elevating them into the upper echelons of numismatic desirability. For seasoned collectors, the $99,500 valuation is a reflection of more than metal. It embodies a moment when history, craftsmanship, and accident collided. The lyrebird design, graceful, detailed, and iconic, remains unchanged from 1966, yet in this year it was paired with extraordinary rarity. Queen Elizabeth II's portrait, youthful and regal, serves as a reminder of Australia's ties to the monarchy at the dawn of a new decade. For older generations, this coin is both a memory of 1970s national celebrations and a symbol of how ordinary currency could, by sheer circumstance, transform into a treasure. Every surviving example of the 1970 10-cent coin in premium condition tells a story of survival. Against the odds, how many were spent unknowingly on bus fares or groceries? How many were lost, discarded, or worn to oblivion before collectors realized their scarcity? The few that remain today are cherished like jewels, each one commanding a price tag that rivals fine art. For investors, it is a lesson in patience and foresight. What once bought so little now commands nearly $100,000. For numismatists, it is a pinnacle piece, a testament to Australia's vibrant coinage history. The 1970 Australian 10-cent coin is more than a sliver of copper-nickel. It is a relic of national pride, minting quirks and collector passion. At $99,500, it represents the extraordinary journey of a simple coin that transcended its monetary purpose to become a legendary artifact of Australian history. Next up, 1975, Australian 10-cent coin. By the mid-1970s, Australia's decimal coinage had fully woven itself into the rhythm of daily life. The novelty of cents and dollars had faded into routine, and yet for collectors, the story was far from ordinary. In 1975, amid a period of political turbulence and economic change, a hidden gem was minted, the 1975 Australian 10-cent coin, today valued at an astounding $86,150. The mid-70s were a defining time for Australia. The Whitlam government was reshaping policies. Inflation was beginning to creep into everyday life, and Australians were adjusting to a rapidly changing world. In the midst of this, the Royal Australian Mint continued its steady production of decimal coins. Millions of 10-cent pieces flowed through the presses, featuring Stuart Devlin's timeless lyrebird and Queen Elizabeth. II's dignified profile. Yet among those countless strikes, something unusual occurred. A scarcity was born. The rarity of the 1975 10-cent coin lies in its unusually low survival rate in high grade condition and the peculiarities of its mintage. Some coins from this year were struck in smaller runs due to shifting minting schedules, while others were believed to have been proofs or presentation strikes never intended for circulation. Errors such as off-center strikes, wrong planchets, or unusual die varieties further contributed to a class of coins that stood apart from the ordinary. For collectors, these anomalies became the stuff of legend, pushing values higher as demand outstripped the tiny available supply. What elevates the 1975 issue to such a high value is not only rarity but nostalgia. For older collectors, this coin recalls a time of upheaval and transformation in Australia's political and social fabric. Owning a piece of that year's coinage feels like holding a physical memory of the period, a token of both continuity and change. For numismatists, the artistry of Devlin's lyrebird remains a constant joy to behold. Its feathers spread in magnificent detail, a tribute to Australia's wildlife and cultural identity. The coin itself, though struck in ordinary copper nickel, becomes extraordinary by virtue of its scarcity. At 86,150, the 1975 Australian 10-cent coin commands respect in the global numismatic market. Few coins of its denomination achieve such heights, but here the combination of condition, rarity, and historical context align perfectly. Each example represents a triumph of survival, a coin that slipped through decades of casual spending, inflation, and circulation to emerge as a crown jewel in advanced collections. For collectors, acquiring this piece is about more than investment. It is about connection. It is a chance to own a sliver of Australian history, a reminder of a turbulent decade, and a celebration of the unpredictable journey of currency. For investors, it proves again that sometimes the smallest coins carry the greatest stories and values. The 1975 Australian 10-cent coin is a masterpiece of rarity. Its 86,750 valuation is a symbol of the incredible depth of numismatic collecting and the fascination that coins inspire. To hold it is to hold both history and value in the palm of your hand, a timeless treasure born from a year of transformation. Next up, 1979, Australian 10-cent coin. The late 1970s were a fascinating time for Australia. The country was transitioning through political shifts, global economic challenges, and a cultural awakening that carried into everything from art to sport to national identity. Yet within this climate of change, something quietly remarkable occurred at the Royal Australian Mint, the creation of one of the most coveted numismatic rarities of the decade, the 1979 Australian 10-cent coin. Today, this coin stands as a centerpiece in advanced collections, commanding a staggering market value of $74,000. The 10-cent coin was by then well established as a fixture in Australian daily life. Stuart Devlin's timeless lyrebird design had already become a national icon, and the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, still youthful yet dignified, reflected Australia's place in the Commonwealth. By 1979, millions of these coins had been produced to keep up with circulation demand. Yet amidst this enormous production, a few anomalies slipped through, destined to become legends. What makes the 1979 coin so special? The answer lies in its scarcity, unique die variations, and the survival of only a tiny number in pristine, collector-worthy condition. Certain examples were struck on incorrect planchets, foreign, blanks or leftover metal from other denominations, producing pieces that looked slightly off to the trained eye. Others were minted in extremely limited proof or specimen runs, designed for presentation, but somehow escaping into circulation. The rarity of these variations cannot be overstated. They are like whispers of imperfection in a sea of uniformity, and collectors have hunted them relentlessly ever since. For older Australians, the 1979 10-cent coin recalls an era when pocket change truly mattered. It was the year the nation felt the weight of inflation, when every coin carried buying power, and when cash transactions defined daily life. To imagine that a coin once worth so little could now be worth $74,000 is to understand the magic of numismatics. Value is not only about metal content, but also about rarity, history, and story. Each surviving example of the 1979 rarity tells a tale of accident and fortune. Perhaps one was pocketed by a curious individual who noticed something unusual and stashed it away. Perhaps another lay dormant for decades in a collection, unrecognized until an expert revealed its significance. These stories elevate the coin, beyond its modest copper-nickel composition, into a treasure of national heritage. At auction, when a 1979 Australian 10-cent coin in uncirculated or proof-like quality appears, the room electrifies. Collectors know they are witnessing a chance to acquire something extraordinary, something that will not appear again for years, perhaps decades. That is why its value has soared to $74,000, and why it continues to be spoken of with reverence in numismatic circles. This coin is more than metal. It is a symbol of how chance, craftsmanship, and history intersect. It is proof that even the smallest coin in the decimal system can carry with it a legacy far larger than its denomination. The 1979 Australian 10-cent coin remains a jewel of the numismatic world, a $74,000 testament to rarity, history, and the enduring passion of collectors. Next up, 1980 Australian 10-cent coin. As the new decade dawned, Australia found itself entering the 1980s with optimism and uncertainty alike. The economy was shifting, technology was emerging, and a generation of Australians was carving out its identity in a modernizing world. Among the everyday hum of life, the Royal Australian Mint continued its quiet work, producing the humble 10-cent coin, a piece of currency that passed anonymously through countless hands. Yet hidden within the mintage of 1980, there emerged a coin that would one day become a treasure beyond measure. The 1980 Australian 10-cent coin, now commanding an extraordinary $61,250. The 1980 issue is unique because it sits at the crossroads of abundance and scarcity. Millions of coins were struck that year, intended for circulation, vending machines, and the daily transactions of an increasingly cash-dependent society. But within this ocean of production, certain coins were minted with remarkable anomalies. Some were struck on blanks of incorrect size or weight. Others displayed distinct die varieties, minute differences in lettering, date spacing, or strike sharpness that went unnoticed by most, but became glaringly valuable to collectors. These subtle quirks transformed an everyday coin into a legendary rarity. The 1980 10-cent coin also owes its value to its incredible condition. To fetch $61,250, an example must be near perfect, preserved as though it were struck yesterday. Such coins did not survive by accident. They were carefully set aside, shielded from circulation, perhaps included in test strikes or proof-like sets, and passed down through collectors with extraordinary care. Today, those examples gleam with crisp detail, the lyrebird feathers finely etched, Queen Elizabeth II's portrait flawless and free from the wear of pockets and purses. For older Australians, the 1980 10-cent coin resonates with memory. It recalls an era of Saturday morning markets, jingling change at the cinema, and coin-operated machines that defined a generation. That a single coin from those years could now be valued at 61,250 is both astonishing and deeply meaningful. It connects the nostalgia of lived experience with the modern recognition of rarity and worth. Collectors prize the 1980 coin not only for its financial value, but also for the thrill it represents. It is a reminder that hidden treasures exist in the most ordinary places. A coin once thought to be mundane can, with the passage of time and the scrutiny of experts, reveal itself as a masterpiece of scarcity. At auctions, the 1980 rarity sparks fierce competition, each bid a testament to the passion numismatics inspires. At 61,250, the 1980 Australian 10-cent coin proves that value is about far more than gold or silver content. It is about the story of minting, the accident of survival, and the devotion of collectors who preserve history in its purest, smallest form. To hold one is to hold not only a coin, but a chapter of Australia's heritage. Coin that carries with it the echoes of a nation's past and the prestige of one of the rarest finds in its decimal series. Next up, 1983, Australian 10-cent coin. By 1983, Australia was a nation in transition. A new government under Prime Minister Bob Hawke was ushering in sweeping economic reforms. The country was embracing modern global trade, and a younger generation was beginning to redefine what it meant to be Australian. Amidst this wave of transformation, the Royal Australian Mint continued its steady production of decimal coinage, including the everyday 10-cent piece that had been part of daily life since 1966, but hidden within the vast minting of 1983 lies a rarity so profound that it would one day command the astonishing market price of $48,500. At first glance, the 1983 Australian 10-cent coin looks identical to its predecessors. Stuart Devlin's elegant lyrebird in full display on one side, and the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II on the obverse. Yet for collectors, this year stands out because of unusual production quirks and extremely limited survival in pristine condition. Several factors make the 1983 issue so valuable: low official mintage for certain strikes, a peculiar scarcity of proof-quality examples, and a handful of reported minting errors that only surfaced years later. The early 1980s were a time of high demand for coins, but in 1983, the 10-cent denomination was struck in lower numbers for circulation than in surrounding years. The mint was focused on other priorities, particularly producing coins for proof and mint sets, leaving relatively fewer 10-cent coins in general release. Compounding this, certain proof strikes from 1983 were believed to have been destroyed, with only a few slipping into private hands. These escapee proofs, combined with circulation pieces preserved in uncirculated condition, are the heart of today's $48,500 rarity. For older Australians, this coin resonates with the memory of the early Hawke era, a time of national optimism, the floating of the dollar, and cultural change. To think that a coin worth so little in everyday commerce could now be worth nearly $50,000 speaks to the mystique of numismatics. It reminds us that within every minting year lies the potential for hidden gems, born of circumstance, error, or survival. Collectors today revere the 1983 10-cent coin for its scarcity and symbolic significance. Its rarity is not a matter of metal content. It is not gold. It is not silver. Its value is found in the improbable survival of so few perfect examples. At auction, the arrival of a 1983 specimen electrifies the room, each bid a recognition of its importance in Australian numismatic history. The demand is international, with collectors across the globe eager to claim a piece of decimal coinage legend. At 48,500, the 1983 Australian 10-cent coin has risen from obscurity to become a crown jewel of its era. It represents the perfect blend of history, rarity, and survival. For investors, it offers proof that even base metal coins can achieve extraordinary financial heights. For historians, it is a tiny artifact that captures the spirit of its year. And for passionate collectors, it is the embodiment of the chase, the thrill of seeking, finding and preserving treasures hidden in plain sight. Next up, 1988, Australian 10-cent coin. The year 1988 was a landmark in Australian history, a year of national reflection, pride, and cultural celebration. It was Australia's bicentenary, marking 200 years since the arrival of the First Fleet in 1788. Across the country, events, commemorations, and symbols of heritage filled the calendar. The Royal Australian Mint, too, was at the heart of these celebrations, producing special issues and commemorative coins that captured the spirit of the bicentenary. Among the ordinary circulation coins of this year, however, lies an extraordinary rarity, the 1988 Australian 10-cent coin, a piece now valued at a remarkable $35,150. By the late 1980s, the 10-cent piece was as common and unnoticed as ever. The lyrebird design by Stuart Devlin, a constant companion in daily commerce. But in 1988, the Mint's focus on commemorative issues meant that circulation coin production experienced irregularities. The 10-cent denomination, in particular, was struck in far lower quantities than usual, creating an unexpected scarcity. Add to this the production of rare proof and mint set versions, many of which were tightly controlled and only sold in limited numbers, and the stage was set for the emergence of one of the most valuable coins of the decade. For collectors, the 1988 10-cent coin is iconic, not just for its scarcity, but for its symbolic connection to the bicentenary year. It is not just a piece of money, it is a time capsule. Each surviving coin whispers stories of national celebrations, tall ships sailing into Sydney Harbour, parades of heritage and culture, and a nation reflecting on its past while looking forward to its future. Owning one of these coins is like holding a fragment of the bicentenary itself, a tangible link to the grand moment of national pride. The valuation of $35,750 is rooted in the extreme rarity of high-grade examples. Most coins entered circulation and were used heavily, meaning they suffered the scratches, wear, and dulling that strip value away. Only a few were preserved in pristine, untouched condition, whether in collections or as part of the limited proof strikes. Those few examples now command attention at every major numismatic auction, where collectors vie for the chance to own a bicentenary rarity that is as culturally meaningful as it is financially valuable. For older Australians, the coin is a nostalgic symbol of the bicentenary year, a memory of fireworks, festivities, and cultural pride. For investors, it represents a solid acquisition, a coin with both historical weight and demonstrable scarcity. And for numismatists, it is a prize, one of those elusive pieces that transforms a collection from impressive to extraordinary. At $35,750, the 1988 Australian 10-cent coin stands as a reminder that coins are more than just currency. They are carriers of history, reflections of national identity, and in rare cases, treasures of immense value. This coin is not only about rarity, it is about what it represents, the spirit of a nation celebrating 2 centuries of history. To hold it is to hold a bicentenary legacy, etched forever in metal and cherished forever in the world of collectors. Next up, 2003 Australian 10-cent coin By the early 2000s, Australia was a nation confidently moving into the new millennium. Technology was transforming daily life. The Sydney Olympics were still fresh in collective memory, and the Royal Australian Mint was embracing innovation like never before. The 10-cent coin, already in circulation for nearly 4 decades, was as familiar as ever, with Stuart Devlin's striking lyrebird continuing to serve as its defining motif. Yet in 2003, something extraordinary happened. Coin emerged that today is among the most sought-after modern rarities. The 2003 Australian 10-cent coin, a piece that now carries a market value of an astounding $2,900. At a time when most people thought of coins as little more than pocket change, the Mint was experimenting with new techniques for proof sets, commemoratives, and precision striking. During this transitional moment, a tiny number of 10-cent coins were produced, under unusual conditions that set them apart. Some were struck on incorrect planchets, foreign blanks or metal, stock not intended for Australian coinage. Others were proof strikes of the highest quality, created in exceptionally small numbers for collectors, but never intended to surface in open circulation. The result? A micropopulation of 2003 10-cent coins that have become legendary in numismatic circles. For older generations and collectors alike, the 2003 rarity is significant because it shows that even in the modern era of mass production and strict quality control, accidents and anomalies still slip through. In fact, these are often more exciting to collectors than the great rarities of the past, because they represent the unexpected survival of treasures in an age when perfection is assumed. The coin's survival in mint state or proof-like condition is almost miraculous. The 2,900 valuation is a reflection of just how scarce this coin is in any collectible state. While millions of ordinary 2003 10-cent coins continue to jingle through circulation, the rare variants are counted in the dozens at most. Each one is preserved by collectors who recognize its significance as one of the very few modern-era Australian coins to cross into 5-figure value territory. The design itself remains timeless. Devlin's lyrebird still dances across the reverse with feathers splayed, a masterpiece of Australian wildlife captured in copper-nickel. Queen Elizabeth II's portrait, updated for the modern era, speaks to the continuity of monarchy and tradition in an evolving Australia. Together, the design and the rarity create a coin that is both familiar and astonishingly unique. At auction, the 2003 Australian 10-cent coin commands fierce bidding, its value driven as much by its story as by its scarcity. To own one is to hold proof that numismatic history is alive and evolving even today. It is not merely a relic of the past. It is a treasure of the modern age, a $2,900 reminder that rarity and value can emerge at any time, even in the coins we take for granted. Next up, 2006 Australian 10-cent coin. The year 2006 was a milestone for the Royal Australian Mint. It marked the Mint's 40th anniversary, a celebration of 4 decades of decimal coinage. Since the historic C-Day in 1966, to commemorate this achievement, the Mint undertook special strikes, sets, and presentations that would mark the occasion in history. Among these, however, came an unexpected rarity: the 2006 Australian 10-cent coin, today valued at an impressive $23,000. By 2006, the 10-cent coin had long been part of everyday life, its lyrebird design by Stuart Devlin, one of the most instantly recognizable motifs in Australian numismatics. Yet in the Mint's anniversary year, anomalies in production and extremely limited proof and specimen strikes created a class of coins that would one day become some of the most coveted modern rarities. What makes the 2006 10-cent coin so special is its combination of commemorative significance and scarcity. The mint was focused on producing special 40 years of decimal currency collector sets, which included limited edition proof coins, struck with mirror finishes and exceptional detail. Very few of these proof 10-cent coins were made, and even fewer have survived in pristine, untouched condition. Adding to this, certain error strikes, coins minted on the wrong blanks, or with off-center designs were reported from the 2006 run, giving collectors a tantalizingly small pool of variations to chase. The $23,000 valuation reflects both this rarity and the cultural importance of the year. For older collectors, the 2006 coin is more than just a rarity. It is a symbol of continuity, a reminder of the journey from the first decimal coins of 1966 through 4 decades of change. For investors, it demonstrates that modern-era coins can achieve significant value, challenging the old belief that only ancient or early issue coins could command high prices. In terms of design, the coin remains a masterpiece of simplicity and elegance. The lyrebird graces the reverse as it has since 1966, its feathers a symbol of grace and resilience. Queen Elizabeth II's effigy reflects her maturity, showing the passage of time and the enduring connection between Australia and the Crown. The coin's commemorative context elevates its importance beyond simple currency. It is a marker of history itself. Collectors view the 2006 rarity with reverence. It is a coin that bridges generations, linking the pioneers of decimal coinage to modern-day numismatists. Each surviving example in proof or mint state condition is a treasure, guarded carefully and rarely seen in public auctions. When one appears, it is pursued with fervor, often exceeding estimates as passionate bidders fight for ownership of a modern, numismatic jewel.